Make sure you're dancing to the Imperial March. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Empire 161 show. I am Ed. With me, as always, is my co-host, Lisa. What is up?
Hey, everybody. Glad to be back home. Ed and I both took separate trips this week to different parts of America. Ed, that's a little loud this time. Yeah.
It kicked in. It kicks in. When it kicks in,
it does.
Like,
it gets serious. It gets serious. Yeah, so Ed and I are both back home in New York from our separate trips to different parts of America. Ed can tell you a little bit about his trip when he's ready, but I had a great time. I went to Florida with my brother and my niece, and we went to Disney World and hung out with some of our family down there. So we had a great time.
Tell you a little bit about his trip when he's ready. But
there we go. Look at that. We got a little feedback.
But yeah, it's good to be back home in New York. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch many of the games live because I was living my best vacation life. But I did catch up on everything and did some recaps to be prepared for today. And looking forward to just watching live games again. Unfortunately, the first live game I watched was last night, which we'll get into later on. Not very exciting to watch that one for a Yankee fan. And today on the show, we're going to be talking about the Yankees versus the Mariners and the Astros. We're going to talk about the All-Star break, of course, the game and the Derby. And then we'll talk about last night's game a little bit and what's coming up for the Yankees. Back to you, Ed.
Thank you, Lisa. No, hopefully some wins coming up. But I think all things considered, I know we'll get to it in more detail in a second. But yeah, the Astros loss last Sunday was left a really bad taste in people's mouths. But I mean, they did have a 4-2 West Coast road trip, though. You can't lose sight of the entire road trip, which is a solid West Coast road trip anytime that you can get that. But we have some other issues to get to that we'll address in a minute. But to kick things off, as usual, let's start with Twib. And Twib, for if you're new to the show, is our This Week in Baseball segment where we talk about various things that are not Yankees related, because there's always some news in that. And the big news this week was the All-Star game. The All-Star game. Well, actually, let's talk about the Home Run Derby a little bit, because we had that on Monday. The Mets' Pete Alonso had won it with a spectacular performance. I mean, he looks like the dude was hitting softballs while everyone else was hitting baseballs. So he was the only one locked into a home run derby. Lisa and I were 2 of 8 people that were in a home run derby pool. But Lisa's not too thrilled with her guy's performance. When she had Matt Olson of the Oakland A's.
He let me down.
He did. He got bumped in the first round, but I mean, he put up a bad showing. I mean, we saw Robbie Cano years ago in Kansas City hit 3.
Yeah.
When that happens, you're like, what the hell are you even doing here? Just go home. Well, you wasted everyone's time with that one. It wasn't that. I mean, because the way they have it now is it's a bracket system, so they have the 1 seed and the 8 seed and all of that. So it kind of just matters wherever you get matched up against. Listen, I happen to have Pete Alonso.
I don't know.
So
that sounds like it was rigged.
Oh yes, I do. Me and Angie usually draw the names because we couldn't get everyone together because it's a pain in the butt to get all of us together. But, yeah, I had Pete Alonso, so I had won this year. I think this is actually the first time I've won the home run derby pool, which is ridiculous because it's usually the scientist or somebody completely off the wall who we ask when we need an 8th person, and that's usually when it happens. But look at Sal Perez though. Paul had Sal Perez, the catcher of the Kansas City Royals, and he hit 28, 29 home runs. Mm-hmm. He was in the top 4. So in the old format, he would have advanced.
Yeah.
But he ran into Pete Alonso, who hit 35 in the first round, and yeah, it was ridiculous. He just put on a total show.
He really did. And it was crazy because he said, I'm winning it again. He came into that home run derby with that mindset of I'm taking it home again. And I just want to shout out to my sister-in-law, Barbara, who is a major Mets fan. She's over the moon that Pete Alonso won again. So had to throw that out there. But before we get into the home run derby, I do want to say a couple of fun facts about Coors Field because everybody knew that the balls were going to go soaring there. So they mentioned it at the beginning of the Derby. They said the course field has the longest average home run distance, 9 feet longer than the second place stadium, which is Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. And the overall distance variable, Coors Field is over 5,000 feet above sea level. Their average temperature is 69 degrees, and it's an open air park. So their average home runs go 18.7 feet longer than in other stadiums. So, yeah, we were definitely going to see things going flying out there. And one of the cool rules this year was that if the ball went over 475 feet, each batter would get 30 extra seconds, which totally benefited Pete Alonso and a couple other players in their the separate slots that they were in. So, but yeah, let's get into the Derby itself. I do want to say the opening when they had Billy Crystal talking, I thought that was really touching. Just the images and what he was saying, it was really cool. And I know that Billy Crystal's a major baseball fan, so it was nice to hear his voice.
Yeah, Billy's a huge Yankees fan. He actually directed my favorite baseball movie, 61.
Yeah.
So yeah, huge Mickey Mantle fan and stuff, and he poured like a lot of heart and soul into it. But yeah, that opening was pretty awesome, and he did a lot of like, you know, he threw one like an acknowledgement to Michael Kay with saying "see ya" and everything, and then, you know, Mel Allen and stuff. Like it was really cool, really well done job there. I know the boss of Pop Culture Pros was pretty happy, Steve Faraci, but he's definitely calling BS on my winning of the home run derby poll.
See, Steve's with me.
But he raises a good question though too. Like, how is the defending champion the 5 seed?
Yeah,
like,
I don't understand how they did the rankings, because when you saw how many home runs a couple of the guys had hit this year so far and where their ranking was, it was like, wait, what? So it is pretty weird that he was the 5 seed.
If I'm correct though, and I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure they do it based on how many home runs you currently have. So if everyone enters, they seed you by how many. That's why Ohtani was the 1 seed, because he was leading the league in home runs at the time. But you should take into consideration if a guy like Alonso, who like loves this thing, it looks like he lives for the home run derby. And to say the truth, for me, it was infectious. Like if you weren't like someone who was into it, that got you into it then, because they're like, this dude's just having a blast.
Yeah. He like you said before, he looked locked and loaded, ready to go. A couple of other guys looked like they were tiring out. And I was commenting when I was watching it, like, who had the least amount? I think Gallo had the least amount at 19 in the first round. And I mean, somebody who had 24 or 20, or Pete Alonso with his 35, like Pete Alonso looked like he wasn't tired at all. He could have kept going in that first round. But a couple of other guys, you could tell they were like, it's a lot. When you think of us in batting practice, and like none of us are hitting home runs during batting practice, we're just hitting grounders and pop-ups. But when it keeps coming at you so quickly, you do get tired. So more than impressive that several of them had 20 or more home runs in their rounds.
Yeah, and I agree with Faraci. I think Alonso should have had like 4 extra minutes, because the bombs he was hitting, the amount of feet was just ridiculous. It's like, you know, I guess you got to cap it at some point, but like that was pretty wild to watch. But yeah, and there was also a couple of people online were like, oh, that Ohtani like flopped. I'm like, dude, if you were watching, the guy hit 28 home runs, lost in a triple overtime because they went into extra time twice, and then it was a 3-swing off with Juan Soto, who's one of the best players in baseball. So that's pretty nothing to be ashamed of. I mean,
absolutely not.
Soto went ahead and went 3 for 3 in a swing off. Like, that's just absurd.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the two of them, I think their pairing was the most exciting in that first round. So
yeah, absolutely. We got a comment here from Joe Garcia.
Oh, no relation. No, psych.
Who had 17 home runs in the show, and the show 21. Joe, nice job. Hopefully you got some extra time with that too. Maybe you got extra time to like keep playing the game and stuff like that. So it keeps adding on with how many home runs you hit based on distance. But yeah, no, it was a blast. I personally enjoy the home run derby every year, and this one I think was especially, you know, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I like the brackets. I like that. So we'll see what they do next time around.
Ohtani was having fun. My wife kept saying how much she was smiling, laughing. Yeah, Ohtani and Alonso. I mean, I think everyone wanted to see them to Matt, no, I know Lisa had Matt Olson, so maybe not Lisa, but Otani
No,
and Alonso would have been a matchup.
Overall, I was hoping Otani would win overall, and I wouldn't have been mad if Mancini won too, just because of his story and what he went through. So I definitely was not tied to my guy. When you sent me that, I was like, but
he's on my fantasy team, so if I would have got him, I would have actually been kind of happy about that. But when I got Pete Alonso, believe me, I was not upset, being that he was a defending champion, and I'm like, okay, I think I got a good one here.
Yeah, but I do agree with Verace. Otani looks like he has fun every game. Yeah, it's really cool.
And I think that we were saying before the show, we were chatting a little bit. I think that's part of the intrigue too, Shohei Otani, is that he looks like he's having fun. And when you see people having fun while they're playing the game, it attracts you to them. Besides the fact, the guy is an awesome baseball talent overall. I mean, offensively, even pitching, like what he's doing is something we've never seen before. We've only heard about with like Babe Ruth.
Yeah, and let's keep it real. He's not hard to look at either.
Just gotta throw
that out there too.
Okay. All right. So we got that too. I guess Otani's not too bad on the eyes as well.
No, so that's entertaining as well for some folks.
Well, let's keep on talking about Shohei Otani, because there was the All-Star game, which was on Tuesday, where the AL had won their 8th straight over the National League by a score of 5-2. I think the standouts there were Shohei Otani getting to bat leadoff and DH and remain in the game, and he was the starting pitcher who sat down his side in the first inning, 1-2-3. So that was pretty impressive. The shot of the night, though, was by Vlad Jr. That home run that he hit was, it looked like it was a home run derby home run. It was a bomb. Maybe he should have got like an extra at bat or something like that for the distance that one went. That was ridiculous.
It really was. He's amazing, and he totally reminds me of his dad in some aspects. I love the glove that he used during the game. I don't know if you saw that. It was such a cute homage to his father. I just love seeing that. I love seeing how when it comes full circle with somebody who was there as a kid and then they play in the game. Even watching, like, when Ken Griffey Jr. was watching the home run derby, like, he looked like a little kid, and he'd been there God knows how many times. Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, the Guerrero's home run was amazing.
Yeah, he was pretty awesome. From a Yankees perspective, we had 3 All-Stars. We had Judge, Cole, and Chapman. But Judge was the only one who got in the game. He was the starting right fielder for the AL. He was 0 for 2 with a run scored. And he actually had a pretty damn nice catch in right field. It cut it off in the gap. So, he was
0 for 2, but he walked and then scored on Simeon's grounder.
Yeah. So, he got to show up. It's an all-star game. There's a lot. Everyone's awesome in that thing. So, he represented and did what he needed to do in that game. But Cole didn't get into it. I'm pretty sure him throwing 126 pitches a couple of days before. A lot of times the managers will call into, I'm sure there was a call or conversation between Boone and Kevin Cash to say, listen, not tonight. Nope.
Yeah.
So he needs to sit, rest, let him smile, wave, and that's about it. No need to get him back out there again.
So there's 2 things I wanted to mention about the All-Star game as I was watching. The first one, we talked about this before the show, Joe Buck. Okay, if you are an announcer, you should make it priority to learn how to pronounce people's names. Joe Buck kept saying, so this is how you say his name, Fernando Tatis Jr. He was saying Tatis. So far off. I don't know why. His I think it was John Smoltz that was talking with him. Like, he wasn't going to correct him. But please, Joe Buck, get one of your assistants to write it for you phonetically, because he kept saying it over and over. And then they mic'd Tatis Jr. in the game, and he was talking to him and saying his name wrong to him while he's playing. Also, I wanted to talk about that. Wearing a mic and an earpiece, I felt so bad for Xander Bogaerts on his first at-bat of the game, because they were talking to him as he was at bat. And I'm like, dude, how confusing is that for him? The guy's trying to stay focused. He's playing a National League pitcher that he doesn't get to see often, if ever, unless it's the playoffs or an all-star game. And you're chatting in his ear talking about, oh, you better get a hit. Come on.
And when the pitch was coming, weren't they even saying, like, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? What's it going to be? I wish he could have, went through the headset and just smacked him or something.
Oh, my God. Yeah, he's going to answer what it's going to be so that the catcher could hear it and then be like, well, don't throw that. Come on, man. I mean, on the field, sure, talk to them in between innings. They had a good back and forth with the guy who was playing first base for the National League. But like, don't talk to somebody when they're at bat. It's already pressure filled. You're trying to be as as good as you can. I thought Xander Bogaerts was very gracious in how he interacted with them while he was up at bat. But I can't imagine, like after that at bat, he was probably like, "These MFs."
Yeah,
That's why I struck out. So
my favorite. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, my favorite moment of the night with the mic'd up players, which I guess for an all-star game it's okay, but I agree. Like when the guy's at bat, you shouldn't be talking to him literally in the middle of the at bat. When you're in the field, maybe it's a little bit different. You can get some time. But they were talking to Freddie Freeman when Judge was up, and Judge was like, I mean, he goes out and draws his walk, and Freddie Freeman's talking the whole time, talking about how he's about to look real small on TV and everything like that. When Judge walks over, he greets him over, and they even told him like, hey, tell Judge that you're wearing a mic. Not to say anything, no curse or, no F-bombs or anything like that dropping, which definitely can happen. I'm shocked it hasn't happened yet.
So I don't know if you caught this. Two things happened with that. The first thing he said was, I'm 6'5", and I don't normally look up a lot, but I'm about to right now. And then the other thing he said was, hey, there's two guys on first base with really good looking teeth right now.
Yes.
Which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, no, that was actually pretty good.
Best looking teeth.
She's approving of the actually we got a couple interesting things here with Joe Garcia dropping in some more comments here.
Oh boy.
That Ohtani is a gift to MLB, especially if you're a Yankees fan. Well, yeah, I mean, we touched him up. I mean, I would personally rather him be the gift literally to the Yankees because they were after him, and he turned us down to go to the Angels because he was hell-bent on playing on the West Coast. I mean, if we would have had Shohei Ohtani, I mean, wow, that would have been a nice lefty bat in the top or middle of the order, another starting rotation pitcher. I'm not even going to bother getting into it because it's going to start getting me upset. But whatever. Rachi had Vlad Jr. hit 2 home runs against him in fantasy. Wow. Okay. He's getting hit around like that. And Joe Garcia's favorite player is Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yes, of all time.
As a Yankees fan, really?
He loved him.
Wow.
Yes.
That is surprising. I personally acknowledge Griffey's greatness on the field, but when that whole story came out about how he despises the Yankees because they wouldn't let him play on the field during batting
when
practice
he was a kid, I
was like, shut up. What's wrong with you?
I know, it's not really the Yankees. It was George Steinbrenner.
Yeah, either way, though, be a professional. What the hell's wrong with you? Stop. Baby over there. Yeah, no, there was talk of a trade back then that there was George wanted to trade like Bernie Williams and Andy Pettitte, and I can't even remember who else would have been in the deal. They were going to try to make an offer for Ken Griffey Jr. And I'm honestly glad it didn't happen because we won our dynasty and won our World Series. Griffey got to go eventually play in Cincinnati, and nothing ever happened after that. So I'll take it. I'll take the trade off, though. Plus, every time I think of Griffey, I think of him rounding third base and scoring to end the 1995 ALDS and crush Don Mattingly's only postseason run. And that's why I have a thing with Griffey. It's complicated. All right, let's get on to our recap of the week because it's what we do. But let's take a trip back in time again to last Tuesday when the Yankees were on the West Coast and they were playing the Mariners, a series that's where I had made my trip to. Me and my wife Angie went out to Seattle and took in the series and got to see an absolutely beautiful ballpark, which is now called T-Mobile Park. I was going to call it Safeco because that's what it was forever until now, but that's just the way it goes these days. The Yanks pounded out 18 hits, which was the season high, and a 12-1 thrashing of the Mariners. I was texting with Lisa because that was the game also where I did it. I ate my grasshoppers before the game. I wasn't going to do it. I was going to do it game 2, but then when I was texting with Lisa, I showed her some pictures. I was like, you know something? I'm going to do it. Plus, I walked past this stand that had this Mexican corn, and it was I can't turn away Mexican corn. Mexican corn is phenomenal. Oh my god!
Yes, it is.
It's so good. And then it was like, oh yeah, add on $3 side of grasshoppers. I was like, guess this is it. I should just do the side of them, and that. I want to know what a full looks like because that cup wasn't like small. That was
You
a
you
nice
had a lot.
sized cup.
You had a lot in there. I saw that.
Yeah, and I will say one thing for sure. I did not finish that cup. That did not happen. I ate what I ate for the video, and then that was the end of that. It sat under my seat, and the cheese that was there was from a pretzel that I had at the stadium too. But I'll tell you a little story about what happened with that because both of those came into play later in the game on a foul ball.
Oh,
yes, there was a foul ball hit over there. It bounced in to the bounced around the seat, so it went bounced over right by in front of her aisle. Angie was sitting on the outside, so she got up to go get the ball, and it rolled past her. There was nobody around me, so I was like, "Oh shit! All right, let me go get the ball." I lean over, I move away to get my hand because it was next to a cheese cup. So I went to clear the cheese cup. Some kid who comes running in, crashing in, and grabs the ball. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" And when I saw him as a kid, I was like, "All right, whatever."
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not gonna fight a kid for a foul ball. I mean, when I say kid, I'm not talking about 5-year-old. I mean, he was probably a teenager.
Oh no, that's a legitimate. You could fight.
You think so? Should I have fought back against the kid?
You should have fought back. You should have fought back.
All right. I don't know what the line of demarcation is between who do I fight the foul ball for. All right, so we go to like a kid, like
no, if it was like
12.
10 or under.
10 or under? Okay.
Yeah. I have a question for you. We have a friend. I'm not going to name their name. If you want to, you can. We have a friend that at the end of games, when they see food in the stands, they will go and pick food out of other people's discarded things.
Yes.
Do you think that this friend would have picked up a grasshopper?
Man, that's a tough ball. Let's see. Maybe how many beers in the game that they had would probably affect this decision. If he was had quite a few, then I could see myself pushing him to do it. I would talk him into persuading him. As far as the appearance of it, I did put the top back on. It was closed. It was sealed. So by what I know for his logic to be, then that would have qualified. That should have been something he would have, because it would look like it was barely touched, and he would have had the grasshoppers.
All right.
So I'm gonna say yes, and I'm also gonna say he probably may have had. You're about 5 beers in. I think I could definitely go ahead and wow. I'm getting some stuff over here about this foul ball and everything.
Oh my God, what Farachi said is hilarious.
Oh boy, wow. It's the worst thing ever. Wow.
Oh, that's not even what I was laughing at.
Oh,
I was laughing at the one above it where he says, "Think of the ratings." Make sure Angie records.
That's true. I mean, that could have been. I know Eric from the A to Z show and from the Just Too Sweet show. He was talking some crap for a little while, so maybe that's what it should have been. I could have showed myself fighting a child, and then he would have been really excited about that.
And my brother said you're allowed to throw bows for a foul ball. I think foul ball's fair game.
For
fair game.
A teenager though, I'm 41, man. I should be fighting. All right, okay.
I'm just saying. Was he close to your height? Was he close to your height?
I don't know, honestly, because I went down to go get it, and then I saw him kind of going back up the stairs. So he was there with his father.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't quite get the height, and then it was all right. But it got made up sort of in the next game. So I'll tell you guys what happened because I had posted a picture with that. So there was some redemption on some level. Wow, but the worst thing Farachi's ever heard in his life. And then another fact regarding eating bugs. I think humans eat an average of 7-8 spiders over their lifetime. That equals 1 grasshopper. I had 2 or 3 grasshoppers in the video, I think. I did some in cheese, right?
At least 2.
Yeah, because one was regular, one was in cheese. Because I was hoping that was going to... I'm going to tell you, though, the overall taste of the grasshopper is not the worst thing I've ever had. It's definitely not. It's the texture. It's the crunch.
I was just going to say.
It's the crunch and then that's when you're it really brings you into that. That's what he was referring to. The worst thing I was talking about was your buddy eating leftovers. Wow, that's worse than the grasshoppers. Yeah, so he's taking
I agree
popcorn.
with Farachi on that one.
He's taking popcorn. He'll think about it though, Farachi or everyone else. So he's looking when a kid is I want popcorn, and it's the 8th inning, and then the family goes and gets it, and the dad gets it. kid barely touches 2 kernels and then they leave the game and stuff like that. His rationale is that he dumps off the top. So he'll shake off the top, shake it up to try to justify this. And in his head, it's clear. And then he goes in. We've seen popcorn. I've seen chicken fingers was the last game at the old stadium when we were walking out. I told him that he had to like push it extra to like really, really do it. And he did chicken fingers on the last game of the old Yankee Stadium. I'm pretty sure French fries were involved at some point too. I mean, this is it was definitely a thing. We got a question here, Ed. What do you see for the second half of the season? Lisa will tell you I'm pretty much done at this point. Joe, I'm going to hold that. We'll pop that question back up when we're done with our recap. We've strolled off to bugs and food off the floor at stadiums.
Talk about it.
We didn't really get to the game too much. So
the Yankees won.
This was an easy one. The Yankees go ahead. They demolished the Mariners. 18 hits, season high, 12-1. Jameson Taillon got his 4th win of the season, put his record at 4-4. He went 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. By far his best start of the season. I mean, he got them into the set. He pitched 7 innings. That was fantastic that he gave the bullpen a rest instead of doing his usual 4 or 5 inning fiascos. And then hit-wise, I mean, Voit was 5 for 6 with 3 RBIs. DJ LeMahieu was 3 for 6 with an RBI. Big G was 2 for 4 with his 15th homer. He drove in 3, and Rugi Odor was 2 for 4 with his 9th home run of the year and 3 RBIs. I mean, pitching wise, also to note, Chapman did come in the 9th inning, very sketchy. Also, like loaded up the bases and had to put a whole thing. But I kind of thought it was a good spot for Boone to get in there because you can't not pitch the guy forever. You got to get him back out there, let him try to work out what he's got to work through, and get to it. So. Overall, a very, very nice win for the Yanks. Very fun time at the game as well for me and Angie. We did pony up the first 2 games, and we're sitting behind the Yankees dugout. So we actually did we were yelling a lot, trying to get foul balls and stuff. When they were coming in and hyped up, we were doing the whole thing like they do at times too. So we were making sure our presence was known over there. But the foul ball and the Grasshoppers kind of stole the show, for that Tuesday night. Yanks went ahead and took the next one, a much closer game, 5-4. A game that felt like a blowout for a while, but the Mariners were creeping back little by little, and then Chad Reed came in to close it out. This was a bullpen game because, very strangely, Domingo Germán was supposed to start this game and was scratched like an hour or 2 before because he had emergency root canal surgery.
Random.
Very random. And I was like, what the hell just happened? He came in relief, though, later in the game. So the thing I never saw, and I was looking for this on Twitter, was when did he have this surgery? And how bad was it for him not to be able to start the game? Because I'm guessing timing-wise, maybe they're waiting for the numb, like whatever the hell that is, to numb your mouth to wear off or something.
Oh, the Novocaine. Or maybe
Novocaine.
Maybe he had sweet air. Because even if you have Novocaine, that's not going to stop you from pitching. But sweet air would, because he would have essentially been like high on the sweet air. So maybe what happened was he had that earlier in the day, and they were waiting for the sweet air to go away. I don't know, but that is very peculiar.
I just learned something new about sweet air. I usually just got it numbed. Oh, I never had like root canal. I had like teeth pulled.
Oh, you don't want a root canal?
No, I don't. No.
It's also usually more than 1 day No, that's not a root canal. But anyway, any dental procedure is not fun.
No, it's not. Stay clear of all dental procedures.
Yes. Brush and floss, folks. Brush and floss. Oh, yes. So when I got those teeth pulled the last time, that's when I learned it has to be every single day. Can't skip days. Never that. Done. I'm like, my dentist loves me now. Comes in, I come in, I do my cleanings twice a year. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
So Sessa picked up the win in relief. That was the second win of the season. He lasted 3 1/3. Chad Green got the save, locking it down, which had showed the first sign was this will be a recurring theme as we get to the Astros series of where Boone's confidence is with Aroldis Chapman at that point.
Yeah.
So he chose to go to Green in a save situation. Green was lights out for that game. Had 2 strikeouts for his 3rd save of the year. Judge was 2 for 4 with his 20th home run, driving in 2. Stanton was 2 for 5. And Gleyber Torres. We had a Gleyber Torres offensive sighting once again. with 2 RBIs. He had 1 hit on the day. Nobody had hits in the afternoon game for that, as the Yanks did not complete the sweep. They were blanked 4-0 by the Mariners, completely shut down by
a rookie.
Gilbert. I don't even know. I didn't even bother learning. I just got to call him that because I know I said that last time. But yeah, Logan Gilbert completely shut them down. And they 1 hit. I'm going to quote Bob Uecker from Major League. 1 goddamn hit. That's all we got.
Yeah, it was my guy Stanton.
Yeah.
And that was in the 2nd inning.
Yes. When it was like a 1-0 game, or like it was 0-0 at that point, and still hanging in there. But starting this game, Jordan Montgomery was he got his 4th loss of the season, dropping his record to 3-4. He lasted 6 2/3, going with 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, and 9 Ks. Montgomery looked good, and we'll get to an interesting factoid Lisa has for us for Jordan Montgomery for last night, but that was his last start. You can see they lost 4-0, and the troubling trend continues. I don't know if Jordan Montgomery crossed a black cat or something like that, or did something
Walked
to somebody.
Under a ladder. I don't know what happened.
Maybe both. Maybe the cat was walking by as he was with the ladder. I don't know, because man, it's pretty troubling.
It is.
Yanks took the show to Houston after that for our good buddies in Trash Town, as the Yankees shut them down 4-0. Nestor Cortez Jr. Went 4 2/3, only 2 hits, 2 walks, striking out 2. So he got a spot start there because Herman's dental surgery fiasco started throwing the whole rotation off. But Nestor Cortez, though, proved again that he could be a viable starter for the Yanks moving forward. He's been like their little secret weapon this season.
Yes, which makes it all the more tough that he is now on the COVID IL, but we'll get to that in a few minutes too.
Oh yes, this is the story, because Aaron Judge was 2 for 5, another one who's on the COVID IL right now. DJ LeMahieu was 2 for 5 with a double, driving 2 RBIs, which was a huge hit to pull the Yanks ahead. And Gardy had a 2-run double, also going 1 for 3 on the game. So nice way to plant your foot, and when you go into Houston for a big series to start righting the ship. But the biggest game, I think, for at least from the Yankees' positive perspective, was the Saturday game. Wow. I mean, Judge had the solo home run here. I mean, he had rounded third. He went ahead and did the whole thing, mocking Altuve with covering up his jersey. Lisa can tell the story about Judge's post-game comments.
Oh my God, it was awesome. I read this and just started giggling. So yes, when he was rounding third, he did the little button-up thing. And when the reporters asked him, "Oh, is that you trying to say something to the Astros?" He was like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about. It gets chilly in here when they keep the roof closed. I was just telling my teammates to button up a little bit," which I thought was hilarious. And then apparently Gary Sanchez did the same thing in Game 3. But the thing that topped it for me was Rugner Odor coming out and meeting them with a Yankees jacket to just reinforce what Judge said, that it's really cold in there. I thought that was great. I thought that was a little great shot, a pot shot at the Astros, especially because they chose that weekend to give away all of their World Series memorabilia.
Yeah, and that's pretty. You knew they were doing that on purpose, because now the Yankees-Astros is a legitimate rivalry. So it's heating up, man. These two facing off in the playoffs really would be something, because I mean the tension would be completely out of control. But the big story for the Yanks, though, besides that, was Garrett Cole. He pitched complete game, 3 hits, 2 walks, striking out 12. He looked like Garrett Cole again. For a little while, since the sticky stuff was gone, it was a little up and down. Like there, he got his worst start of the season against the Mets the last time out, but boy, did he respond. And my favorite inning, my favorite moment in the game, besides Judge's thing, was in the 9th inning, with 2 outs, when Boone came out, and we had Chapman warming up, by the way. So Chapman was warming up. And Cole
which is terrifying, because it was only 1-0.
Yeah. And he's at like 120. I want to say he threw 126 total, but I got to say he threw like around 120 pitches at this point. So in modern baseball, you would think there was an alarm that would have went off, or somebody would have tackled Boone or something, or they would have been like, emergency, remove pitcher, please, blah, blah, blah. His arm is going to fall off, save him. Cole Cole had some F-bombs to be dropped towards Boone and making sure he was screaming about, he goes, I am staying in this game, and they say, this is my game, I'm taking it home. And he blows away Yordan Alvarez to end the game. And wow, that was like, if you were somehow, I mean, I've been on, the Cole, I got my Cole Train shirt on right now for tonight. If you were not on the Cole Train yet, you had to be on after this, because that was like, man, you're the man, dude. Like, that's what an ace is supposed to do, demand the ball. He knows the situation against his former team, and man, he delivered. That was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and that goes to your point before about like, energy, what draws people to keep watching games. When you see a pitcher get that passionate about, no, I'm completing this game. You're not taking me out. I just think it's really great that, like you said, he stepped up for that. That I'm sure gave the rest of the team some energy as well that they needed. Because we were talking about this in one of our previous episodes. We haven't seen too much passion and fire in the team. So here's Garrett Cole being like, I don't care if my arm falls off, I'm finishing this game. There's no way you're taking me out. He said later after the game that he blacked out in that moment. He's like, I know I dropped a lot of F-bombs, but I have no idea what I said. And good for him, because it was his fifth career complete game and his third shutout. Yeah. So I mean, amazing. I appreciate that kind of energy. That's why Paul O'Neill is one of my favorites, because he showed that kind of fire too. Like, I just love that. I love seeing when players have that energy and they're like, there's no way in hell you're taking me out of this game. Love it.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. It definitely brought me back to, I want to say 05, 06, Mike Mussina again. And when he was on the mound against at Tiger Stadium. Oh yeah, Joe Torre was coming out. He was like, no. And Torre was like, okay.
I know. He was like,
okay, my bad. I'm going back in. It's okay. It brought me right back to that moment, but obviously a little bit different when this guy's dropping F-bombs all over the place, like in Boone's face too. And I think it also shows, though, the reoccurring theme, like we had mentioned on the second game against the Mariners. It's under normal circumstances, if Aroldis Chapman was Aroldis Chapman, I guarantee you Chapman would have came out for the ninth and pitched that, and then perhaps he gets it done, perhaps he doesn't. But that also shows you the trending theme of where the Yankees are at with Aroldis Chapman at this moment. Yeah. And honestly, I personally think it's well-deserved, because he has not shown a lot. I mean, in a very short span, he has completely imploded, and you can't really trust him in the tight games. A game we definitely could have used, old Aroldis Chapman was in the Sunday game. Yanks were going for the sweep again, and ended up blowing a 5-run lead to the Astros and lost 8-7 on a walk-off by, out of all people, Jose Altuve. Chad Green was brought in for the save in this situation. He had absolutely nothing. Hanging sliders, no break on him whatsoever. Fastball just pretty much might have been BP-style fastball. It was kind of crazy. Like, he really had absolutely nothing. And it happened like in a blink of an eye. He ended up recording 1 out, giving up 4 hits, 4 earned runs. But when things were cruising, Gary Sanchez hit his 15th homer of the year with 3 RBIs. A guy who I've actually really liked so far since I've got him, Tim LaCastro, hit his 2nd home run of the season. Yeah. He also had 2 doubles in the first game against the Mariners, and I was screaming Timmy 2 bags at the stadium there, I was like, I want to see some more doubles so he can, like, legitimately, maybe this can actually be a thing for him. But I mean, listen, they were up 7-2 going into the 9th inning. That should be enough for any bullpen to hold on. But one thing to note too, the Yankees left 14 runners on base. They had 14 walks. The Yankees offense walked 14 times. The amount of base runners they had, they should have put up 15 runs with the amount of guys they held on. But they were 3 for 16 with runners in scoring position. So I'm not saying it's on the offense to do it, but you could have really wiped them out early. You had the chance to really, like, step on their throat. You didn't do it, and that's what happens.
Yeah, and I just want to comment, one of the craziest things about that game, that was the only excuse me, that was the only game I got to watch while I was on vacation. My cousin had it on in his house, and we were watching, and my cousin Jessica commented, she's like, I can't get excited about this game until the game is over. And she was like, and this is when the Yankees were winning 7-2, and people were like, change the game. And she was like, no, we can't celebrate until the game is actually over. And then sure enough, that ninth inning happened and everything imploded. And she was like, this is what I'm talking about. I cannot celebrate a Yankee game until it's officially over. So shout out to my cousin Jessica for unfortunately foretelling what we knew might possibly happen, and it did.
Yeah, it was just stunning. It was absolutely stunning. And Joe Garcia's commenting, how does a little hobbit like Altuve hit a walk-off to beat the Yanks? I don't know. Maybe he had the ring. Maybe he had it from the Lord of the Rings. Maybe he had his ring in his pocket or something. But I also thought it was just kind of funny, which before we get to that unfortunate stat that we chatted about, we wanted to bring up. But so Altuve hits his home run, right? We're in this whole trolling war back and forth with them now. And he gets his shirt ripped off. His jersey gets ripped off after the game. Okay? So if you remember back to 2019 when that whole fiasco happened with the buzzers and stuff like that, and everyone thought he was, and he covered up. So I just want to lay this out there very clearly. So the guy hits a walk-off home run in Game 6 of the ALCS to send his team to the World Series. Then you cover up. To win regular season games to avoid a sweep. Take it off. It's all good. No problem.
But hang on. There were multiple reasons why he allegedly said he covered up. So allegedly because of a bad tattoo. Allegedly because his wife didn't approve of him ripping his shirt off and had a problem with that. Mm-hmm. And then what everybody else assumes is that he was covering up that buzzer, right? Yes. So they clearly weren't using a buzzer for this series because they got their butts handed to them in games 1 and 2. They were shut out in both games. And then they win this game. And all of a sudden, his shirt comes off. So I guess his wife didn't mind that much. And where was the tattoo? Even if the tattoo was removed, there's still a little bit of fading that you probably would have seen. So
that's what I was going to comment on. So the tattoo he did see, because obviously I was furious in looking at this, right? he had a very small tattoo here, maybe like a name and script.
It was so tiny, though. Don't tell me that was a horrible tattoo.
That's the horrible tattoo or unfinished tattoo. Dude, give me the damn thing right now, and I'll write that on in 2 seconds. It'll be finished in 2 seconds. Come on, stop. I've never written a tattoo in my life, but I can sign somebody's name. Yeah. I'm gonna. Yeah, this is coming up before we get to. Yeah, probably. I think it was definitely somewhere. We'll just say it's where the sun doesn't shine.
I mean, he looked very happy, so.
Yeah, maybe it's he's digging it. I don't know. Yeah. So point is that I was never one who was really on the buzzer train, if you want to say, or onto that thing. The signs and stealing and all of that. That's fine. I'm not stupid. I know you were cheating in 2017. You were cheating in 2018. You didn't suddenly stop cheating in 2019 out of nowhere when you didn't get caught. Like, that makes absolutely logically no sense whatsoever. You escalated it. But now, forget it. For me, personally, that was like the nail in the coffin or the signed seal to say, yes, there were buzzers. If you have any questions about buzzers being used in 2019, bang, that's where it is. Because I'm sorry, we just laid it out. All the proof is there.
And then the other thing was he was conveniently not available to answer questions from reporters either. I think it was before the game, and then allegedly, and I hope this isn't true, but allegedly he had to go to the hospital because his father was in the hospital. If he's in the hospital, I hope his father's going to be all right. But that's why he allegedly wasn't available to reporters after the game.
Just a little convenient.
I mean, honestly, you hit the game-winning walk-off home run, and you're not available after the game to talk about your game-winning walk-off home run?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it seems a little fishy. But the big stat that was thrown out there all over Twitter is that MLB teams at the time of this Yankees-Astros game, which was last Sunday, were 493-2 when leading by 4 or more runs going into the 9th inning this season. Those 2 losses were the Yankees. This game right here versus the Astros and the game against the Angels on that Wednesday night with the massive rain delays and all of that crap. So, not, as I like to quote our good friend Joe Girardi, it is not what you want, to put it mildly. Yankees bullpen absolutely just needs to get it together, and then you need to have that, like, as a team, you need to have that killer instinct. When you have runners on, you need to keep tacking on runs, keep scoring, put games completely out of reach when you have a chance, and make sure that these things like this are completely not possible. And they clearly had the chances to do all this. We covered the All-Star game, but we had the one game last night, which opened up a huge stretch for the Yankees because they're going to face the Red Sox eight out of the next 11 games. Because they have a 2-game set next week against the Phillies, but they were unfortunately shut out 4-0 by the Red Sox last night. Really not much to say in the sake of the offense. 3 hits. Jordan Montgomery took another loss, going 6 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. So he's doing his job. Bullpen did their job. I mean, Justin Wilson made sure let's get that one solo shot out there because Justin Wilson is absolute trash. So he decided to make sure they taxed that one on to let his presence be known. But the big story yesterday, I mean, actually the day before, because this series was supposed to start on Thursday night, but the game was canceled, and now it is going to be made up as part of another wonky 7-inning doubleheader on August 17th. Thank God Rob Manfred had said the other day that seems to believe no more after the season, no more 7-inning doubleheaders, no more of this fiasco with the ghost runner on second base in extra innings. We'll go back to playing traditional baseball in these scenarios. It's like, wow. It's rough, and we'll get to Joe's question right now, but because it ties into what we were going to talk about. That takes me back to my question: what happens in the second half of the season?
Yeah.
Joe, I like to say that this stretch coming up is really it. You know, you have the Red Sox now 7 out of the next, 7 out of the next 10 games now. You got to start making up ground, and it sucks because you just lost Judge, you just lost Gio, Loaizaga, Cortez, Higgy, all to COVID. Now they're going to be out for a minimum of 10 days. So, I mean, this couldn't have happened at a worse time for them because this was it. This is going to make or break their season. Now, if they go ahead and go into the toilet, they could fall 15 games out. I mean, they can fall something like that, and then you could almost kiss the division goodbye. But then you do have the wild card, which is another way to get into it. But they just got to start playing better baseball. But last night, and Voigt's on the IL as well with his knee bruise again.
Yes.
So Voigt's having a really tough time staying healthy this season. This is really pushing whatever you think is going to happen at the trade deadline. Because the 2-week span why we highlighted this is because it leads up to the trade deadline. Are the Yankees going to be buyers or are they going to be sellers at the deadline? Joel Sherman dropped a piece the other day in the New York Post saying he believes, he's getting word that the Yankees are looking at Joey Gallo. We mentioned listen, great power hitter, a lefty bat that we could use, another outfielder which we could use, but he's another low batting average guy. He's going to strike out a ton. You have a lot of those guys on the team. I'm not saying I'm not gonna welcome him to the team, but if it ends up happening, it's just another guy that you need guys to put the ball and play more. What's everything? All right, so Joe's got some more in there. They should have got the gold standard of vaccines, Pfizer instead of J&J. Yeah, I guess. I mean, we got our vaccine options right here. I mean, I'm thankfully a Pfizer guy, but we don't give you an option. We don't have an option. We go to somewhere and they say, hey, this is what you're giving you. That's it. Take it or leave it. Yeah, I think J&J has been the one that supposedly is like less effective or something like that. I don't really know, honestly. But there's been some breakthrough stuff in there. But also, I think the key thing to remember with the Yankees COVID situation is that they're testing positive. So you can carry the virus even though you are vaccinated. You just won't end up in the ICU or anything like that. Like the chances of that are very low. But you can still carry it and pass it on to someone who is not vaccinated. And not every single player, not every single person around the team and on other teams is. So that's where baseball is coming from. That's their whole thing.
And most of the Yankees that were on the COVID IL, they said were asymptomatic, which is, thankfully they're not experiencing things that other people experienced earlier on in the pandemic too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I think the big thing to remember is it's just that it looks like the team did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, baseball's trying to make sure that they protect everybody in a situation. And I understand where they're coming from. That's definitely something you could do. One last comment before we move on here is selling Aroldis Chapman. Joe or anyone else, if I know that's been a popular thing I've heard personally on sports talk radio and things like that locally, is what are you going to get from him?
Yeah.
Who's going to line up and say, listen, Aroldis Chapman at that price for this year and next year? Sign me up. Let's go. We can fix him. Let's do this. Chapman's here. Unless he somehow fixes himself before the trade deadline and the Yankees become sellers, then maybe you can. But he's got to show that he's back to being Aroldis Chapman again. He did pitch in last night's game, and he was okay. I mean, there was a couple balls that went to the warning track, right? And he did get a strikeout there as well, so he didn't give up a run. So at least baby steps, considering where he was at when he was throwing beach balls. I think we could agree. We want baby steps here. We'll take that.
So before we talk about the rest of the Yankees Boston series, I just wanted to make a couple of notes about last night's game. I enjoyed seeing a couple of guys from AAA come up to the game. I thought, and some of them were lefties, so it was nice to see lefties in the batter's box. But yeah, just to name them, I hope I'm saying his name right, Ambergy.
Trey Ambergy.
Ambergy. Yes, yeah. Ambergy he started in right field, and then we got to see Allen and Hoyt Park pinch hit in the 7th inning. So, and Allen got a hit as well. So just seeing a couple of new guys, new energy on the team, I was excited by that. I thought it was great. Fun fact, Park is the first Yankee to ever wear the number 98, and he's only the second player in Major League Baseball history to do that. But because the Yankees have retired so many numbers, people are forced to go higher. I'm waiting for that first triple digit because that's going to happen at some point. So another fun fact about the game, Eduardo Rodriguez, the starting pitcher for Boston, fell off of a truck when he was 7 years old and broke his right elbow. So he is a right-handed person by nature. He didn't want to stop playing baseball, so he taught himself how to throw lefty.
That's ridiculous.
I think that's insane.
When I try to throw lefty, it's like,
yeah,
I had nothing behind it at all.
Yes, I am. You know this. I am a natural lefty, but I throw righty when I play softball because the ball just comes out of my arm harder on the right side. But and then a sad fact. I don't know if you mentioned this or not, and forgive me if you did, but Monty has had 0 run support in his last 5 starts. That's brutal.
That's why we're thinking he cursed somebody. He did something.
Oh, that's right. We talked about the ladder. Yes. See?
Yes, there could be the ladder, the cat. I mean, maybe he didn't give up a seat on a train to like a pregnant woman because supposedly that's the thing that you can get bad luck for. I don't know. Maybe he did all of the above. It's
maybe he's got to light a candle for Joe Boo. Who knows?
I think so. I mean, to get the bats going. I mean, listen, I'll take whatever you can, whatever it needs to happen. We need to do something for Joe Boo or. What was it? Sacrifice a chicken like Serrano would. I mean, whatever. We got to get this offense going somehow. And I get that you're down Voit, you're down Judge, you're down Gio. I get it, but we got to get things going one way or the other. Maybe the Yanks got to change their approach, not swinging for the fences all the time. You got some guys who have a lot of speed now. Maybe some bunts, put the ball in play. Force steal bases, hit and run. Whatever you got to do, you got to adjust to the personnel that you have currently in the lineup, and that's something that we'll see if Boone does. It'll be going against the analytics a bit, but it's put up or shut up time. Because again, by the next 2 weeks, over our next 2 shows, if we'll decide if we're going to be talking about the Yanks getting players at the trade deadline, like trying to upgrade, or selling off players, and I'm really hoping it's adding players and making a push for this because it'd be pretty shitty to be playing out the season with such expectations going into it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our weekly awards before we get to the rest of the series preview. So if this is your first time checking us out, since we have a little Star Wars theme to our show, we go with the Force is Strong with as our offensive player of the week. So Lisa, who's the Force strong with for you over the past 7 games?
Yeah, so I told you all I was on vacation, and on vacation I was also on vacation from baseball. So today I quickly looked at people's stats for the last 7 days, and going off the stats, I picked Gary Sanchez His OPS is 800. He had 3 RBIs, 2 runs, and 1 home run in the last week, and his on-base percentage was 300. His slugging percentage was 500. However, also hearing from your recaps how well Judge was doing, Judge was just being consistent and Judge. So it hurts even more that he's on the COVID IL for the next 10 days. So I'm going to say Sanchez is the one I'm picking, but a nod to Judge.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty much one here. I'm trying to. My phone is refreshing, so I'm trying to get the exact numbers from my guy who I picked. Well, I went with DJ LeMahieu.
Okay.
All right. DJ LeMahieu was my guy who the force was strong with too. Despite hitting only 250, he had an on-base percentage of 382. He had 7 hits over his last 28 at-bats, driving in 3, plus the big double against the Astros and against the Mariners. It looked like he was starting to come back into form and be the DJ LeMahieu that we know of, the machine. So that's who I'm going with. As far as it goes for pitchers, we have the I Have Spoken Award, who's normally our pitcher of the week. Garrett Cole. It was very close to being Jordan Montgomery because he pitched his ass off his last 2 starts and got no run support, literally no run support. But how could I not go with Garrett Cole with that performance against the Astros? Complete game, 12 strikeouts, throwing 126 pitches, cursing out Boone, pretty much cursing the Astros as well. So Garrett Cole's my guy.
Yeah, I picked Cole too. And I also had a special shout out for Nestor Cortez because nobody expected him to go as long as he did in game 1 versus the Astros. He was only supposed to be, like a quick spot starter and go a couple innings, and he went more than that. So just had to shout out Nestor Cortez for giving us a little bit more length and giving us a little bit more time to get the rest of the bullpen some rest because we really need that.
Yeah. And I gotta put up this comment quickly because I absolutely love it and fits. Yanks are stuck in the darkest forest of the Dagobah system. Yes, that's a reference to Star Wars for The Empire Strikes Back. But Joe, I hope that they go ahead and see themselves in the cave and they learn that they need to be the heroes and realize we're the New York Yankees. Let's wake the F up and get it going. You got to make it happen. Listen, there's no one's going to feel sorry for them. No excuses. Sucks that they lost all these players to COVID, but it is what it is, as they say. All right, let's just go over quickly the matchups for the rest of the Yankees-Red Sox series, which is only 2 more games now before they get Monday off, and then they play against our old buddy Joe Girardi and his Philadelphia Phillies come running into town tonight.
And
another yes, well, they better not play.
No, he won't. He unfortunately won't be there, but I will.
You would love it if they brought him, wouldn't you?
Oh my gosh.
We're getting a text from Lisa like, listen, we're going to the game tonight. That's it. I'm heading out there. They're bringing the Philly Fanatic. Let's go. Tonight we got Nathan Eovaldi, another old buddy of the Yanks, who was 9-5 on a season, who made the All-Star team with a 3.6 xERA, versus Garrett Cole, who was 9-4 with a 2.68 ERA. So good pitching matchup tonight.
Here's a question for that.
Some runs. Good.
I have a question about that. So tonight, Cole will have to use Gary Sanchez as his catcher. I'm wondering. See. So I guess it's not a question; it's a comment. But I'm wondering if this will be the impetus to have Gary Sanchez just be the starting catcher for everybody and have like 1 day a week off instead of definitely having a day off whenever Cole is pitching. So I'm really curious to see how it goes tonight with that matchup. I think it shouldn't be a problem. Mm-hmm. It should have never been a problem. Gary Sanchez needs to get as many at-bats as possible. He's been one of the stronger batters for us this season. So let's keep him in there. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I don't see any way Sanchez doesn't catch Cole tonight, but you're right.
I'm talking about moving forward.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, going forward, especially with Higgy on the COVID IL and Judge out and Gio out, we need literally every bit of offense we can get. Mm-hmm. So we can't take Sanchez out of the lineup. I mean, gay game after night game. I know Sanchez has done it a couple of times recently, but I don't know if they're going to keep pushing him with that. But it'll be interesting to see. Another thing that will be interesting to see that we talked about in the last show was Stanton getting his ass back in the outfield.
Yes, he did hint that it might be during the rest of the series because it was supposed to be, I think, for the first National League Series coming up
in
after
Miami.
this.
Yeah.
But he did allude to Meredith Morakovitz that it might be during the series now because of the COVID IL.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's got to get out there. I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
Definitely.
like you said, this is the time to do it. You got to do what you can. And I know someone has to be the DH, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I understand that. Having him DH is not the worst thing in the world, but if it's a situation like we're saying, where Sanchez, as a catcher, day game after night game, you want to maybe get him, from behind the plate so he's not killing his legs. You can DH him. You can keep his bat in the lineup, which we both want. And then that Stanton's got to get in the outfield then that one game here and there. Not saying to make it every day, but this is a time where we could use a power-hitting right fielder, which he was at one point instead of just the DH. So this would be a time, and it'd be nice for him to get like white hot at the plate and carry the team like he did a couple of months ago.
Not to mention, once again, some people might want to see him a little bit more often than just his regular at-bats at DH.
Yes. And then tomorrow night on Sunday Night Baseball with I know Lisa's looking forward to hearing Alex Rodriguez do the game for ESPN. Jameson Taillon will be taking a hill for the Yanks. Hopefully he'll have another start like he did last time versus the Mariners against Michael Perez, who was 7-5 with a 4.04 ERA. And that's where they didn't really go with it's TBD for the Phillies series, so there's no point in really getting into that one because they wait.
Right.
After the off day on Monday, they welcome the Phillies in for Tuesday and Wednesday before heading to Fenway for a 4-game series against the Red Sox next weekend. So let's see. And we can take we'll take one last question before we wrap this up. Where's Frazier? Clint Frazier is on the IL. He's been on the IL. He had vertigo for a little while, which I can kind of speak to personally because I had vertigo about a month or two ago or something like that. It's a bitch. So you definitely should not probably be playing with actual vertigo. But I know they were also looking into his vision and stuff like that, some sort of glasses or something. So maybe it's a completely different thing that I had personally dealt with. But I don't know. It'd be nice to get Clint Frazier back in the lineup. I know Miguel Andujar is also on the IL. He's another guy we could use another bat in the lineup, another major league bat. But we shall see where that ends up heading up. All right, so I think that pretty much kind of wraps it up for us for this week on the Empire 161 show. I am trying to find something here because.
All right. Well, while you find that, I'm just going to say, make sure you tune in again. We will be back on, I believe, the 26th at 6 p.m. So we'll be covering a couple of series then and talking about trade deadline things because that's going to be that last week. So stay tuned for that. We're looking forward to it. Trying to be as consistent as possible. And neither one of us are traveling.
No, there'll be no more traveling for us for, well, there are Poconos for a little whitewater rafting, but nothing crazy, though. Nothing that will prevent us from watching our beloved Bronx Bombers or anything like that. So thank you for joining us. If you liked what you heard here today, check us out on Facebook. Join our Facebook group for the Empire 161 show. Check out popculturepros.com. You can find us there. You can find us on YouTube under Pop Culture Pros. Click, subscribe. Check out our playlist. Check out all the other stuff. If you're into like comic book movies and stuff like that, me and Tony and Jason, we do the Granny's Peach Tea show. We just did our Black Widow review and our Loki review last week, so you can check out that episode. We'll be back on Wednesday at 8:30 with that. Into wrestling, check out Eric and Tim on Tuesday nights. They have the Just Too Sweet show. If you're a Mets fan, which I know we have some Mets fans that do like our show, you can check out the Put in the Book show as well with Farashi and the guys. And you got the A to Z show as well. Eric from the wrestling show, he does the A to Z show. They cover everything you could possibly think of. It's a really, really funny show, so check that out. All right?
Yes, share it all.
Share it everywhere.
Thank Murph gave us our last comment. Thank you for joining today, Murph. And thank you to my brother Joe, who had all the comments.
Yes. Joe Garcia and Farachi and Murph bringing it today. Thank you so much. And we'll see you guys next week. So everyone stay safe out there. Keep enjoying the summer. And let's go Yankees.
Woo! Have a good weekend, everybody.